All right, everyone, we are talking about sales and putting money in our pockets because this is something that I hear about almost every day from entrepreneurs is they're working so damn hard, but the sales just aren't happening. And it's like bashing your head against the wall. And so let me just tell you, this woman who is speaking with us today, Laura Wright, she is the CEO and founder of Epic Sales. I interviewed her a while ago and she was just dealing out this wisdom and this advice, and she had an amazing process. And I'm like, Laura, you want to come speak to my group? Will you speak to my group? We would love to have you. And luckily, she said yes. And so we are in for a huge treat. She has closed almost $50 million in sales over 20 years. So she knows a thing or two. And she deals with businesses like ours. And so take notes, get your questions ready, and welcome to our circle, Laura, the Fuel the Fire Circle.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am extraordinarily passionate about sales, and I think that there's a handful of people in the world who love it, and most people don't. But I think it's only for one reason. It's because number one, you either, and I said one reason. I'm about to tell you two, so now you know everything you need to know about me.
It's double or
No,
nothing.
always. You're just not taught how to do sales. Like there's no class in any school. And unless you had a amazing relationship with a parent who taught you about sales, or even if you went to a school about it, or somehow you got some training, the other side of the coin is you were probably taught the manipulation style, the shame-based selling that is taught. So it's either an absence, no one ever taught you, or if you did learn some techniques, they're quite frankly the ones that don't work. And why do I know that? Because a million moons ago, really, like literally in the 1990s, I had that realization the other day. I said something, and my husband was like, I think that was like 40 years ago. And I'm like, that's not possible. Oh, God, that was 40 years ago.
Right?
Um, it's like that. This is a while ago. I was taught all of the slimy techniques. And not only was I taught them, I was expected to fulfill them. And what I did is what most entrepreneurs do is I didn't. And I learned something really important. I sat beside this beautiful, amazing woman in this company that I worked in for about 3 years until I decided I could not do corporate. And she would show up early every day. We'd be given our list of leads because it was at the time that's how that happened. And she would literally just pound the pavement, not on the pavement, but like pick up the phone and call and call and call. She was taught there, it's never a no. It's only when are they going to buy? And she would basically harass people until they purchased. What I did instead, and why I'm going to bring this to you, is because I want to teach you how to see sales from this angle for everything, is this. I would show up late to work. I remember telling my mother-in-law that I was a really bad employee, and it was like it like broke something in her mind of like, no, Laura, you're great. I'm like, no, I was a bad employee. I would show up late. I mean, hell, I was in my very early 20s. I'd show up late. I would take the list they gave me, and what I now know I was doing, and what I didn't really understand then, was I was doing an energetic scan of the list. And what I would do is I would look at it and I would feel that pain. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like you when you have that moment where you're like, think of somebody and then they call you, or you're like, I just have this, like, I should reach out to somebody, or I should, like, you get that intuitive hit to do something. So I would do that. I would look at the list, find one person, and I'd call them and I would talk with them. I would ask them how their day was going. What are they working on that's going well and not so well? What do they want? And I would have this beautiful conversation. And at the end, I would say, would you like to buy this thing? And at the time, I sold the smallest thing I ever sold was like 25,000. Most of the things I was selling were like 180, 200,000. Sometimes we were selling $1 million events. And they would all say yes. And I would then get off my call. We had to ring a bell. This is like literally old school sales. I had to ring the bell, write my stuff down. And then I'd go to lunch and I'd take a long lunch. And then I'd come back and I'd do it like one more time in the afternoon. and then I try to duck out early. What was happening is I was using an energetic tool to determine who I should connect with. I was listening to my intuition. And the second thing was I was building what I now teach as the 5 steps of yes, which is an arc of the conversation where I could actually guide someone to yes. So I bring that to the table. I'm going to teach you guys that. But the other thing I want to ask, and you all might have a different answer for it, is I want to actually know how you feel about sales. Because while this is the concept of empowered women sell with ease, and Ed, what Ed, you're just really fun having you here. I actually have one gentleman in one of my programs as well. It's all women and one guy, so I'm feeling all the feels. I want to know how you actually feel about sales, because how you feel about sales is the first thing that we actually want to address. Because if you feel a certain way when you go to do the action, you're going to present that on the call. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you feel. And then I want to dive into my process. So first things first, if you would, either you can unmute yourself and say it, because I do love interaction, or if you want to pop it in the chat, there is no wrong answer. What I want to know is, how do you actually feel about sales? Jill says it's draining. Yep, I'm going to help you with that one. Who else feels either drained by sales? I feel like, Midori, you probably are like feeling like it feels great potentially. How do you feel about it? Sally says it takes lots of energy. How are you feeling?
Um, it depends. I feel like there's such a big difference depending on how they're sent to me, right?
Mm,
If they signed up for a consultation, that's one thing. Well, let me just back up. So I did Google AdWords for a long time, and that is where they're searching for a problem, right? So that they're a lot easier to
Yep.
sell. But if that wasn't the case, then I feel like it's a lot more challenging, at least at the
Yes,
stage that I'm at.
I agree with that. Okay, so I'm going to read out all of these and we're going to solve all of them pretty easily today. So, feeling straining, takes a lot of energy, intimidating, but you have very little sales experience. Coolest thing, I will tell you this one first. Part of why I love sales is the fact that as you do it and get better with it, you make money.
Mhm.
And like that for me, it's like, sign me up any day of the week. It'd be like learning how to cook and you become better at cooking. We kind of block it when it comes to things like sales or marketing because we don't see the reward to it. I saw the love-hate relationship. So we're going to define it in a minute. Not extremely rewarding. Yes, there is nothing worse than the drain. I will tell you guys a story in a minute. Casual conversation part is easy for me. Oh yeah, it's and I think I know what you're talking about. It's that feeling where you're like, this feels awesome. And then it's like a record scratch and now you have to do the selling. And that disruption is like frustrating beyond all get out. I will teach you about that. If you feel like what you're selling solves a problem for them, then you love it. And if not, you hate it. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. Yep. Oh, body testing. Oh, I love that. Okay, these are great things. Okay, here's how we're going to dive in. Fundamental change on how you feel about sales. So I believe that sales is the most important skill you need to acquire. And I believe it's the most important thing in your business because I work with women primarily and just a few special men, just like Ed, who actually want to do the good work in the world. I have a sense if you're sitting here, what you actually want is you want to be providing your service. You want to work with your clients. You want to create impact in the world. And here's the deal. If you don't sell, you can't do the impact. Have you guys ever had the experience where you talk with somebody who you love and they're not in a sales container with you? They haven't bought from you and you're like, this is what you need to do. Go do this. It's amazing. It will totally work. And you know what they do? Nothing. Or they do the opposite of what you tell them. And why? It's because they weren't in a transaction of commitment.
It's a webinar that I forgot about.
So here's what I see
I don't
sales
have my
is.
headphones.
Sales is the ability to give transformation. I like to say that the transaction is also part of the transformation. And what I also love is the fact that I know that I'm there to actually help people. And how I kind of flipped this around for myself was understanding that if a person doesn't buy, like if they're literally not bought in, they won't get the results and they won't do the work. So you have to be sourced, they have to be sourced and committed, both has to work. So anyone who is talking about sales feeling draining, what I sense is you have an imbalance. You're selling something too low for what you're delivering. And I promise you this. The other day I was talking with my team and there's a new program that I'm doing that I haven't really sold a lot of. And they're like, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, I need to shift something. Something feels heavy in it. It doesn't feel good for me. And actually what we did was we raised the price point because we realized that I had not undervalued it, but I set a price point and I sold a few of them and realized it didn't source me enough. And so I had kind of stopped selling it. So we changed that. The other thing that is showing up when you are selling is all of that gremlin stuff inside about what we've been taught and beliefs around money, sales, and receiving. So I'm going to give you a couple tools on this. One, I have a thing that I say almost all the time, every day, which is I will receive that. So when somebody gives me a compliment, I will say, oh, I received that. Today, I filled up my lovely water pitcher and left it downstairs, and my husband brought it up to me and I said, thank you, I will receive that. Now, it sounds kind of silly to do it for those little things, but usually what's happening when you are not hitting sales is the energetic side of it as well. I'm a big fan of energy plus practical. Like when you put them together, everything works. So I do a lot of internal receiving work. Yeah, you like that one too, Lynn. Lynne, I can say the whole names. Okay. The other side of this is really getting clear on how you feel about buying and selling. So if you feel terrible about being sold to, if you feel terrible about the experience, you're taking all of that gunk to the table of your sales process. So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you a sales process that you're going to feel good about, because if you feel good, that's key number one, you'll do it. And the second is it needs to work. So I'm going to ask you to just kind of like, we're going to forget everything you've ever been taught or think about sales. But as a little aside, I want for each of you to do a little exercise where you really write down your beliefs around selling, because I believe that sales is love. We teach that and I talk about that in my business. It's the most kind and caring thing you can do for somebody, because I'm going to tell you each a gruesome story. So just fair warning. If you were walking down the street and you saw somebody with like a visibly broken arm, like bones sticking out, they're bleeding, they're screaming, it's bad. Each of you in this room, I know what you would do. You would either run over to try to help them. If you didn't know how to help them, you would try to call somebody. You would try to get them to a hospital. You would do something. You would take some action. Well, here's what's happening. Your ideal clients are all walking around with invisible broken arms. They can see them. You can actually see them even better than anyone else. It's the problems that they carry. And whether you sell website services, health coaching, fitness, business coaching, any of the things you sell, somebody is out there walking around. Yeah. You got it. You have the heart. You feel the feel. They're all walking around. And there's a second part to that. They're walking around trying to hide their broken arm, but you can see it. And how many people in this room like to ask for help? Like almost none of you. Well, okay, we have one person who's bold. Samantha, you're willing to ask for help. Most humans, we are hardwired to think we have to do things alone. So we're walking around thinking we're the only person this is happening to. We have to do it by ourselves and no one else can help us and we shouldn't ask for help. So what I believe is your role of being in the sales seat of your business is to go and help them. I use this example a lot because you're going to probably say yes to this one too. Who here tries to carry all the bags of groceries inside in one trip? Okay, so not only is everyone out there walking around with a broken arm that they're trying to hide, we're all carrying so many bags of groceries thinking we can take one trip. So I see sales as this. I see your broken arm and I see that you're holding too many bags, and I'm going to walk over to you. I'm going to take some of the bags out of your hand and we're going to walk them in together. I'm not even telling you to set the bags down. I'm going to help you. That's what sales is to me. I see you're struggling and I'm going to go help you. When you feel that, when you connect to that, what you do on the sales conversation is easy. So now we're going to dive in and I'm going to tell you how to sell in a conversation so that you don't have the ed moment where it feels good in the front and then it gets like a little janky at the end. I'm going to tell you what to do so you can calm down and relax. Because this is the other part. When your nervous system is soothed, when their nervous system is soothed, they're going to buy. On most of my sales conversations, somebody is laughing and crying and a little bit of both. They also all think I'm completely psychic, and I'm going to teach you how to do this because I have days where I'm like, I am, and I'm not. And that's not what I mean. But what I do is I listen and I communicate and I repeat back their words. And so what's happening is I am legitimately seeing their concerns. And when they hear their own words back, they can see that they can trust me, because this is what people buy. I want to tell you a little hidden secret. Nobody's buying your programs. Nobody's buying your products. That's the tool they're going to use to get what they're buying. What they're buying is getting out of struggle and to their vision. So that's all we have to do on a sales call. It's the arc of the sale, and I'm going to teach it to you. I'd also talked earlier with Midori about like, we're going to do an interactive, and now I'm like, I'm just going to teach the whole thing because that's what I'm feeling and that's where we're going to go. Okay. So number one, there's a pre-step to my 5 steps to yes. And ladies, gents, you don't have to write everything down. This is being recorded, and I have a fun little gift. I can't remember if I talked with you about it, but I want to make sure you guys all have it. It is my Overcoming Objections PDF. It's an amazing, easy guide. It's all about how to deal with resistance and objections, but it also scripts out what to say on sales calls. So you can take notes, but you're also going to get that. I'll make sure that we have a link for everybody, or we'll get your information from Midori and get it to you guys. But here's what you're going to do. Step 1 is you've got to manage your energy before you get on a sales call. So I do 2 techniques prior to every sales call, depending on what I need in that day. 1, I either do a grounding exercise, super simple, couple deep breaths, feet flat on the floor, and I just gather my energy. That's if I've had a day that I'm like frazzled and I'm running all around and I need to get calm and collected. Or if I've had a day where kiddo didn't sleep really well last night, I got 14,000 things on my plate and I need to boost my energy, I do a superhero pose. There's a really cool TED Talk on why it works. I just know it works great, but I hands on my hips, shoulders back, I put my face up, and I literally envision my cape flowing behind me. And what I'm doing is I'm reminding myself who I am, who I stand for, and I get prepared to go advocate for the person on the other phone, the one who needs my support. So once I've gathered my energy, there's one more key piece that I put into place before I start the sales conversation, which is I remind myself what my role is. So I'm going to tell you a funny thing. It's called the 5 steps to yes, because I want to teach you 5 steps to get someone to yes. But that's not actually what a sales call is about. Your role on a sales call is simply to do one thing and one thing alone, is to guide someone to decision. That's it. You're not actually even asking them to buy. You're asking them to decide. The decision that they can make on the call is this: yes, I want to work with you. And that's a great one. Or no, we shouldn't work together. And I got to tell you, the no is probably even better than yeses. If you have ever worked with what I like to call a misaligned client, a lovely, beautiful soul, and the two of you shouldn't work together, the no's can be better than yeses sometimes. And the third thing is I need more information. And that's okay, because if somebody needs more information, that's what you're there for. You get to give it to them, guiding them to decision. So here are your 5 steps. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little round robin here. And I'm going to give everyone who wants some individualized support until we run out of our time a little tweak to your process, because I'm going to tell you how well this works and why it works so well. When you have a formula to follow, you can start to count on yourself and trust yourself. When you have a formula to follow, you can start having those moments where you say, oh, I want to bring in 6 clients this month. I guess I need to go talk to 12. I'll tell you, I have basically 100% close rate right now. And part of it is because I have a process of who I will talk to and who I won't. So the other thing I really want you to consider before you even dive into a sales call with somebody is this your ideal client? Are they an aligned fit? Not are they a buyer? I don't like pre-qualifying for buyers or not buyers because I don't actually see it that way. It is this person an aligned fit for me? Because if you can identify their struggle, you can help them engage with their vision, and you give them an offer that is aligned, they will buy. I don't buy anyone's money story. That's another thing. It's a really fun, important one. We'll talk about that in step 4. What they will pay for is dependent on their pain and struggle and their desire to get to their vision. I always say this whenever I get on a call with somebody, when I'm going to buy, I almost never know what the price point is or how they're going to deliver their service. I have had moments, I like to tell the story of this house that we're in. We live in a neighborhood of row homes, and the average house, I don't know what it is anymore because we've been here for like about 7 or 8 years, somewhere between like the $300,000 and $400,000 mark. And I remember we wanted a corner unit, and one came up that was like $475,000, and I went and saw it and I didn't like it. And I said to my husband, I am not buying the most expensive house in the neighborhood, and I would not pay $475,000 for any of these houses. Cut to 2 years later, after hunting and finding, because we love the neighborhood, we just wanted a bigger house. We paid $25,000 over asking to get to the house that we have, and almost more than $100,000 more than what I wasn't willing to pay. Why? Why did that happen? Here's why it happened. Our pain of where we were in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with a growing child and 2 dogs started to get very painful. And my vision of what I wanted when I walked in this home, I felt home. Like suddenly I could see our entire family here. I got emotionally connected. And when we came in here, I knew it was for us. It clicked, and I would have paid anything for it. That's what's going to happen when you walk people through 5 steps to yes. Okay, here they are. Without further ado. Step 1 is we create connection. Now, remember when we talked about know, like, and trust? People buy from someone that believes in them and they can believe in. And we create connection first, because if you don't create connection, they're not going to buy from you. It's that chit chat thing. It's where we build rapport. And I'm going to teach you how to do it really quickly. Do you know what we most connect with? Ourselves. So all I'm doing in the connection is I'm showing how the two of us have something in common. So I would see something, feel something, experience something, and talk about how we have something in common. Now, this is what I love about social media. You can go online and see everything about them. Like I'm looking around the room and I see a couple of people wearing glasses. And one of the things of most of my ideal clients, they have cool and awesome funky glasses that they wear. And I just noticed that. So I'll be like, oh my goodness. And then I have to look and see. I don't have any of my readers on my table, but I have some cool and funky ones. So I'll pull them out. I'm like, I have some cool ones too. It doesn't matter what the connection is. Show how you have something in common. We all have the weather. It just snowed here. So if I wanted to create connection with anyone in the room, I'd be like, it just snowed. And here's what's going to happen. Some of you are going to say it snowed where I did too. Some of you are going to say, oh my God, it's like 70 degrees out. It feels beautiful here in Florida. We're going to have a conversation about what connects us. Don't overthink it. Create connection. Step 2, I call this one listen and learn. The reason why I call it listen and learn is that's what you're supposed to do during this, is you're trying to listen and learn. Are we a fit to work together? Because I also don't advocate selling by pain. That's shame-based selling. When they activate and agitate your pain. Have you ever been on a sales call where somebody is like, it's so terrible, and what if it kept going for 10 more years, and wouldn't it feel horrible, and isn't it like, I don't like that. But I do need to know what you're struggling with to know if we should work together. So when I'm on a call, remember we were talking about guiding someone to decision? I'm also guiding myself to decision. So if I ask somebody, what are you struggling with? I want to hear what they say. And if they say something that I don't help my clients with, guess what? We're not going any further. If they say what they're struggling with isn't something I love to help my clients with, maybe we don't go any further. But if they have a struggle that I like to solve and I know how to solve, we're going to keep going. So there's 3 questions that I ask during this session. Now, I also want you to hear something. I speak very conversationally. When I use that word script, sometimes I talk about it because people like to get scripts. I'm not actually scripting. I'm giving you a formula. I want you to condense and expand it. How long do you spend in connection? Until you feel connected. A minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, don't spend too long. Listen and learn. How long do you stay in this? Until you know what they're struggling with. And the 3 questions that I ask are this. 1, it sounds silly to start here, but tell me what's not going so well right now. Tell me what either are you struggling with? What do you have too little of or too much of? What's not going great? And I say it like that. Yep. Yeah. Ed, we're going to totally get on. I want to know also, are they aware of their pain? Because here's another secret. If they are not aware of what they're struggling with, or they cannot connect to it, they will not buy. So I want to know, what are you struggling with? I then ask this question. Sounds silly, but why do you think you're struggling with it? Now, what I'm actually identifying here is awareness, but I'm also identifying mindset. If somebody tells me I'm struggling with this because I have this terrible assistant who can't do any of these things and everything's bad, guess what? We don't have a fit to work together. They are in a victim zone or they are blaming other people. If they say to me, honestly, Laura, I have no idea, and that's why we're talking, I'm like, come on in, let me help you. I'm just looking for where their mindset is around change. 3rd question I ask, and this is the game changer. Based on this answer, I stop the call or I keep going. This one's a writer downer. I know I said don't take notes on this one. Lots of the build up. Why does this need to change now? Because here's the thing, if it doesn't need to change now, they will not buy. I'm going to give you an example. Many moons ago, I had some inner work that I needed to do, some emotional stuff. And guess what? I didn't really want to do it, so I didn't do it. And then cut to, I'm about to expand my business. I'm about to go do this big photo shoot or about to do a live event, all these great things. And all of a sudden, and ladies, you will appreciate this. And Ed, I think you can connect to it as well. My entire face broke out. Like I've never had an acne problem or anything like that. It just like welts almost. It was outrageous. And so here's what happened. Why does this need to change now? Just became glaring alarm, bing, bing, bing. And so I reached out to somebody and I talked to them because I get it. What shows up on the outside is on the inside. And I did some healing work around the inner stuff. And I also hired someone to do some of the outer practical. But my why does this need to change now was huge. I literally had to go be on a photo shoot in less than 30 days. And I didn't like how I looked, which would have affected how I sold and affected everything. My why now was screaming. So ask the question, why does this need to change now? And if they say it doesn't, we don't go any further. The thing that I do after I'm clear on their listen and learn, what are they struggling with? I then insert a client success story. And this does a few important things. 1, most people hear what's wrong and you want to immediately sell. Great, I can fix it. Don't do that. That is the miss that most people do in a sales conversation. A person is it's difficult to buy from pain. Like think about it again, shame-based selling, you don't feel good and then you don't want to buy. If you've identified what's wrong and we go to give them an offer right away, it's going to be like pulling someone up a hill to try to get them to sell or to buy. They won't. So what I do instead is I insert a client success story, and this does a few important things. 1, it validates their struggle. Remember how I said everyone's walking around thinking they're the only one going through this problem? Well, I say, oh, you know what? I hear exactly what you said. I love helping my clients with this. In fact, you remind me of my client who had the same problem. And here's what we did together to change it. It puts me in an expert level. I'm out of proving energy. I don't have to prove. If you've ever been taught to do free coaching and then sell after, never do that. It doesn't work. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Don't ever do it. It doesn't work. Simply insert a client success story. I validate you. I acknowledge you. I see you. And then we do step 3. Step 3 is where I ask them about their vision. I usually say things like, great. Heard what wasn't going well? I want to actually know, what do you want? Tell me what you want. And so I let them tell me. And if somebody's very unclear, I'll be like, let's just start with, how do you want to feel? Because maybe you're coming to me because you need to figure out what you actually want, but how do you want to feel? What do you want? Tell me your vision. Once they tell me their vision, I remind myself, and I hate that it's my middle finger, so I try to be very careful when I'm teaching this. This is what they're buying. Notice how I keep the other two fingers up. They are buying their vision. That's what they're buying. And if you don't put this piece in, it makes it really hard for them to buy from you. So I ask them, what do they really want? When they tell it to me, I do the same thing I do with the struggle. I validate and I amplify it. So I acknowledge what it is that they just told me. I insert a client success story that matches their vision. I can't tell them exactly what to do, but this is the coolest thing that happens. The way a buyer's brain works, buying psychology, is this. When I tell you a client success story, what you hear is strategy. You just heard, this is how to get the results I want. That's not what I actually gave you. But when somebody hears the how, it soothes them and they start to believe it will work for them. Now, what I want you to hear in this is, don't worry about having to have tons of different client success stories. It can be your story that you're telling in here. Also, I tend to say things like my beloved clients. I can tell the same success story just from two different directions based on vision and based on struggle. So don't get caught up if you don't already have a lot. Everyone's in different journeys in their business. But once I validated and I amplified their vision and they are bought into that, what they want, I believe in consent. I think that probably the biggest miss in sales is when you pitch somebody, like that's what you do to somebody, and it falls flat. So I always ask consent before I make an invitation, because that's step 4, the invitation. And here's the coolest thing. If I tell you a story that validates your vision, gets you excited about it, and it's maybe even bigger and better than what you could have imagined, and then I say these words, do you want to hear how I help my clients? Would you like to hear how we could do this together for you? And they say yes, they are ready for the invitation. That is the moment of consent. That is the moment of excitement. And they want to know. Because here's the other thing. No one, absolutely no one on this planet wants to get connected. Hear that you understand their struggle and you can solve it. Hear that you understand how to get them to their vision and you can get them there. And then they don't want to know how you could do it. It's kind of like you're missing piece. So Ed, when you were talking about the front end feels good and the back end feels bad, this is the bridge. When you go to the invitation with consent, when you go into the invitation where you are like, I can't wait to tell you how we could do this together, I believe in 2 different parts. There is the whole frame. I'm going to give you a little writer downer, like little secret nugget. Part of why we get so worried about the invitation is we're improving energy and we're worried that they're going to say yes or say no. The reason why I'm giving you guys my overcoming objections is this. I know that everyone I speak to on a sales call is going to have a moment of resistance or a moment of needing to walk through their own objections, because I'm asking them to transform. No matter what you sell, even if it's a sandwich, you are asking someone to transform, to go from being hungry to being full or satisfied. It's transformation. Transformation will make somebody have resistance. So I'm not worried about it. I know that if I follow the 5 steps to yes, if I follow the framework, by the time we get to the invitation, they are already mostly in. And then I give an invitation in a certain way. Again, while I believe in consent, I also believe in letting that person choose. So this is the game changer for the process I teach versus what most people do. I do not give one invitation, because if you give one invitation, there's only 2 choices. Yes, I want it. No, I don't. So what I do is I teach my clients how to have a sales container that has 2 or 3 offers in it. Big, like the VIP, like the big number, medium or your core offer, and then small bite. You can eliminate one of the 2 of these. 2 is great, 3 is best, never more than 3. And how I describe them is I kind of seed the one that I think will match for my clients. And this is the part when I said they're leaning in, they want to buy this. I remember the words they said in their struggle. I remember the words they said in their vision. It's usually one or two emotional words that are important to them. And when I give them my invitation, the way I describe my programs is I'm like, remember how you were talking about your struggle? This is exactly what we do in this program. Remember how you said you wanted to get to your vision? That's exactly what we do in this program. And I describe them, and then I ask them this question without giving price point. Which is the way you would like to be supported? So like, for instance, I have a VIP day where it's like, come on, let's go to the Four Seasons. Let's spend the day together. Let's vision out things. Let's expand. We're going to do everything like all in a day. Some of my clients love that. I have a 12-month mastermind, which is beautiful and amazing. And some people like to come be together with everybody. And I also have like a 12-week sales coaching program where we just focus on sales. And when I do that, what I'm leading the person to is which is the one that will best solve their problem, and they get to still be at choice. Now, I will tell you, if I know somebody's like in feast or famine with their sales, because a lot of people show up on my doorstep like that, I almost never recommend them, let's do a VIP day, because it's not going to solve it. We need to spend some time together. So you get to still stay in expert status and tell them and guide them to the one that will actually work for them. But when you incorporate this solves exactly the words that you said in the struggle, exactly the vision you said you want to get to. How would you like to get started is the question that we go into step 5 with, which is the close. But before we even do that, I let them choose without price, because here's what happens. If I say to each of you, my program is $30,000, here's what happened. Some of you zoned out and can't even hear the word. Some of you are like, oh my God, that's huge. Some of you think, please, is there a payment plan? Some of you, like, you all have different feelings about it. However, if I say to you, my one-on-one is 100,000, my mastermind is 30,000, and I have an easy breezy way to get started that's only $697 a month for 6 months. Oh, you're like, oh, I can attain that. I can reach whatever number matches. If you start with price, they're going to make a decision based on price, and we don't sell based on price. We sell based on transformation. So the house story. How much was I going to spend on it? If I started out with how much was I going to spend, I wasn't going to get to what I actually wanted. When I go see, does this solve my problem? Does this get me to my vision? The price almost becomes irrelevant. It's how much are you willing to exchange? And the way I always say this is like this. Not everyone's going to buy a Bentley. Like, we live in the city. Our car has been like hit front end, back end, probably 3 times. And yes, we have a Range Rover, and it's a little bit to fix. And for years we did not have one because my husband wanted one and I just couldn't see us having one. So I never saw the money to have it. We rented one and I was like, oh, this is why we need one. And then we went out and immediately bought it. And of course, my commitment caused the income to come in. Now, it's just a little manifesting story, but why I say that is not everyone's going to buy your VIP level, and that's okay. Make sure you have a couple different price points to sell to that allow people to come into your world where they need to meet you. I always sell to the highest level, and some people should show up there. But if someone shows up and they really need to get started here and then they can go into others, I let them. I don't want to ever hide the price. I'm very clear about it, but I also want you to hear some phrases that I say. I say things like, it's easy breezy, $2,500 a month for 12 months. Easy breezy. Be smart. Do the math. 12 times 25 is 30. Like, I'm not hiding, but I didn't present it where they go. The other thing is we flip things around. I always sell highest first, middle second, small bite third. When you try to ratchet up, like one of my beloved clients that I do work with in my $100,000 container, they have a software platform. It's really cool. And you can buy from them for like $497 for the year to basically almost 6 figures for the year, depending on what your level is. But if we start out with, it's $497, but wait a minute, why do I have to pay this much more for the same thing? That's what starts to happen with your people. However, if you start at the top, it's 100,000, and I'm just using numbers that they're irrelevant. Yours could be 30,000, 20,000, 5,000. But when you go in that, here's what happens. It's a soothing moment. some people call it peeling them off the ceiling, where you say this high price point and then you drop them back down. What I like to say is I just make sure we soothe, because somebody wants to buy the highest, someone's going to feel comfortable with the middle, and the small bite might be the place to start. So step 5, and then I want to make sure we have time for everyone to get some support. Step 5 is the close. This is the one that everyone misses. This is the number one thing that we don't do. We've given over the information and then we go, why didn't they buy from me? There's one simple question you need to ask. How would you like to get started? When you say, how would you like to get started? Here's what happens in the close. The person will give you their credit card and you will sign them up. And that's a fun thing that I teach. Or they would say, oh, Laura, I love this, but, and I love the but. That sounds really weird that I just said that out there. I kind of love it when they say, but, because here's what they're going to tell me. They're going to tell me their resistance. They're going to tell me their objections, and I'm prepared and I know what to say to them. They're going to say, I'd love to, but I'm not sure about XYZ. And then I get to spend time in step 5, the close, overcoming resistance, walking them through their objections. And then I get to say again, how would you like to get started? I do teach in one of my courses how to do a multi-step sales call, because this is the other thing. Not everyone's going to be able to buy on the first call. It's an actual fact. What ends up happening is some of us have different emotional buying cycles. And P.S., everyone buys on emotion, not on logic. So do not overwhelm with details. If you're ever on a sales call with me, you basically hear, we're going to do a lot of cool stuff together and you're going to get to your outcome. How are we going to do it? Oh, there's like 2 calls a month or 1 call a week. Oh, I also have a training resource. Well, I'm not telling them every single piece, because confused buyers will not buy. And they become confused when you give them too much details. What are you selling? Why I love sales calls is this. You are selling, I understand your struggle. I see your vision. And the invitation is how we're going to get there. It's your bridge. That's what sales is. So 5 steps: connect, listen and learn, find out their struggles, insert a client success story, ask them about their vision, insert a client success story, ask them if they would like to explore how we can work together, how I work with my clients, get consent, give them an invitation, 3 or 2, and then close. How would you like to get started? You either walk them through the resistance or you collect their card on the phone. I just spoke for 48 minutes. Okay, I hope you guys received a lot from that. I have some spaciousness to stay, but I would love the ability to be able just to give you some support. So I always like to do, when I'm leading, I'm like, I will just call on you. Victoria, I'm sure you have a different way of leading. So you can either step forward, just raise your physical hand, or raise your hand if you'd like to step forward, and I would love to support a few. So Samantha, step forward first.
Well, like, one, love everything that you just said, because I feel like energetically it's always like about like the tone that you set beforehand. So I guess like I'm looking for more guidance on, I don't think I have too much of a problem when I'm on the physical sales call, but I'm having a problem getting them to the sales call. So most of the time I'm like working through Instagram DMs, and right now I'm starting to outreach to like other sources to get people, but like I'm having a problem just ultimately getting them to the call.
Yep. 2 things. 1, are they saying no to getting on a call with you, or are you having trouble figuring out how to position, hey, would you like to get on the call? Which one is happening, or both?
More so it's like positioning, because it's like my niche right now is health and wellness entrepreneurs, so it's like a broad scale of things, but finding the right people and then messaging them and like having a fluid conversation to get there is definitely where I'm struggling.
Yep. Okay, great. So a few things. 1 is, remember how I said I have a really crazy high close rate? Well, two reasons. 1, because I follow my formula on every call, so I know what my outcome can be. But the second thing is, I know my ideal client, like I know her, like I know her, like I know her. So what I would recommend you do is this, and this is my teaching for this side of it. We're taught how to create this psychographic Frankenstein monster of an ideal client. she has this and that and this and that and this and it's this perfect elusive person that doesn't exist. So it makes it very hard to find her. And side note, I work mostly with women, so I say her. You may work with men as well, and Ed, you're included. So what I want for you to do is sit down and get so crystal clear on her that, like, if she sat down next to you, you could turn and look at her. And here's how I do that. I pick one real live human being that I've worked with before that I love, and I acknowledge that there are probably a million of her out there in the world, and I go find her. So I want for you to consider one person you've worked with, exactly who she is, exactly what she does, exactly what her problem was, exactly what you solved. And I want you just to be like laser focused looking for her. Because when you do that and you speak to her, like I have a funny moment right now. I have two women named Dr. Heather who I'm working with. They're both MDs. Their name is Heather. Thank God they have different last names. But how did these two women show up on my doorstep? It's not that I work with lots of doctors. It's that when I went out to look for some additional clients, I was like, I love Dr. Heather. She's amazing. And I thought of her and I literally started like speaking the words I would say to her to call people in. And just so wonderfully, another Dr. Heather showed up. And so did a lot of other women who weren't doctors. So I want you to go very clearly for her. And then here's the second thing. So how I invite people to have conversations is a fewfold. If somebody is a loose connection to me and I don't really know them, I usually say things like this. Hey, I think you're really awesome and I actually like to know the people around me. Are you open to hopping into a quick conversation? And I have a training that, Midori, I think I can give this to you. I don't know where it lives in one of my resource vaults, but it's how to convert a connection call into a sales conversation. If you message me, I can ask my team how to get it to you guys because it's gold. It's basically how to conduct a connection call using the 5 steps to yes. And you can do really quick within 15 minutes where you release somebody if they're not going to be an ideal client, but the lens is you're looking for the ideal client. The other thing that I like to say a lot of times is people can smell when you're trying to sell to them. So instead of me trying to sell to everyone, I actually go into the advocacy place of saying, how could I actually help you? So for me, I do a lot of, I have a big network. I love to facilitate connection with people. So I will say to them, and this is legitimately true, hey, can we connect? I love giving and sharing referrals. I'm a referral based business. So I'd like to receive that some and I'd like to give some. Are you open to hopping on a quick call? And what I am doing is I'm legitimately doing that. And here's the why it works. I only reach out to people that I think are ideal clients to invite them into this. Not bait and switch. It is legitimate because if I can give them something, I do. I think also since you're in the health and wellness field, what I would also make the recommendation of is an assessment of some sort because people love to know more information about them. So you could say, and I used to do this for years, I would give out my 5 steps to yes PDF and I'd be like, here it is, free, gold, all the things you need. But the key is actually we need to customize it to you. Let me know if you want to hop on a call and I'll help you customize it. And that was my invitation. So what you might want to consider as health and wellness, and this would match for most of yours, is putting out a content piece that has a, oh, and by the way, let's hop on a call and I'll help you customize it. You can do that inside of the 5 steps to yes.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I think now it's just a matter of finding, because like I'm working on ICP a lot this week, and like now it's like knowing how to go and find them specifically. So
Yep. And I will tell you this, when you get super crystal clear on who she is, you know exactly where to find her. And I'm gonna give you all an example, and then Jill, I'll bring you forward. So I had a client a couple of years back who helps kids get into college. And she works primarily with international families, and their kids legitimately need to learn a few additional skills before they can come here and get into school. So it's not like how to pay for college. It's like, how do you grow your kid into the person who's going to get in? So what we did is we looked at this example of your ideal client, the one person you've actually worked with. What if you could have 100 of them? And here's what happened magically. She found out that families who were from India, who lived in a very specific province, not only were her best buyers, they usually referred like everyone they knew. And the moment something clicked of her choosing that person, She like sat up in her chair and went, "Oh my God, Laura, the Indian consulate," because she lived in Washington, D.C., is like down the road and they're having a gala like 2 weeks from now. And she's like, "My client was talking about it." I'm like, "Get your buns in that room, buy a ticket, donate." And she went there and worked the room. That will happen for you online as well. Like whenever you're like, "Where do I find my people?" As soon as you know who she is and what her problem is, it's like laser focused to find them. So don't overthink it. Here's the other secret. My ideal client has changed quite a bit. I picked a person, went for her, and then when I evolved, I picked a different person and went for her. I went for her. So just pick a person and you can find her.
Thank
I
you.
clap. You're welcome. Jill, my dear, step forward. Be supported, be seen. Let me give you some goodness.
Well, I guess a follow-up question for when you were talking to Samantha, when you were talking about like, hey, the 5-step PDF, let's make this like bespoke to you. Is that something you do in the intro call, or is that a call that you charge for?
Great question. Okay. Paid discovery calls and free sales calls. Love the question that you're asking there. Both and different people need to sell different things. Tell me what your service is.
So I'm a wellness matchmaker. I help people find the right wellness program that aligns to their life, as opposed to someone having to align their life to fit into someone else's program.
Okay, great. So you don't deliver the program, you help them determine the program.
Yeah, I basically will give, based on a set of criteria that they give me, I will give them 3 choices. You know, one might be more expensive, one might be less expensive. You know, it all depends on what the factors are.
Okay, great. So my sense for you is you probably want to have a paid discovery call because that's your service. Like, are you doing like if I were telling you what to do, here's what I would make a recommendation. You probably need to have either a once a month marketing moment or a thing that you are sending ad traffic to that is like the 3 things you must know before you say yes to a health regimen. And it's an insights-based training. You can either do that as the free call or you can do it as a group thing. Have them come in, do a very quick, easy call. And at the end of that call, you sell your offer, which is on your own. It's going to be very hard for you to find the like requirements you need because you think you need this. I'm actually going to show you what's going to match for your personality, for your lifestyle. And I'm going to give you 3 things to choose. One more question I have for you, Jill, is are you an affiliate for all of the programs that you're offering?
No, I'm choosing not to do that by design because I want my clients to know that I'm working on behalf of them and I'm not taking money from specific things. Like I'm not incentivized that way. I'm incentivized to serve you.
Are you open to shifting that?
I could be.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be concerned about the conflict of interest, but
Okay. So I have a client who is a wealth manager, and we've had the same kind of conversation of like she didn't want to do that for conflict of interest. And here's how we did it. We had her be an affiliate for every single thing she recommended. And the fact that she gave them 3 choices so they could choose, it kind of evened and leveled the playing field. I just have the sense that you might be leaving a lot of money on the table, and you can advocate for something and still have an unbiased opinion because you're going to give them what is the actual 3. Like there's nothing that changes in your service. Like you right now would give the 3 that were the right ones because you want your client to get the right results, right? You wouldn't give them the wrong one because you get more money if they wouldn't get results, because then they won't get results. They won't either return to you, they won't refer you. So you already have the ethics in place to not be biased in what you're giving out. You're just missing a revenue stream.
okay, so then the actual question I wanted to ask is that like, so my category is, it's kind of a different category. It's like, I'm not wellness coaching, I'm not personal training, right? I'm helping people find something that aligns to them, right? And I've been working on my ICP. I spent a lot of time on it yesterday, but you know, what's happening is that it's not happening. And so how do you do that when you're not in an established category?
Yep. Okay. So we need to help you see that you are, because you kind of are. What you're doing is, so remember I was talking about the two Dr. Heathers? One of the Dr. Heathers, she sells concierge medicine. There's
Yep.
going to be a different way to say it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't actually deliver it right now. The people in her clinic deliver it. You just have a lot of different people who would be in your virtual clinic. So I want for you to consider what you actually are selling is bespoke or custom curated matchmaking, but you're doing matchmaking for wellness, not matchmaking for a love partnership. It just helps you see that like what you're doing is matched to them. I have a question for you as well. What is your price point?
So I have 3 different packages, right? So the basic package is at 99 bucks, right? And that's like basically just having like a quick call to go through your goals, right? To at least get you started. Then the next one is at $4.99, right? And that one is like the concierge service that you're talking about with a little bit of wellness accountability there, right? Once a month. And then the next one is around 1,100. And that one is basically building on top of everything with 6 months of accountability coaching.
Great. I'm going to make a recommendation to you, and it's going to feel stretchy. So I just want you to absorb it, sit with it, and then make it your own. I think you should like 50 times your price point. Like, I'm not being hyperbolic. I think what you're selling is concierge, and the person who needs that or wants that match is probably the person who, like, I'm going to give you an example. We have a vet that comes to our house because our dogs don't like going to the vet. And it's a lovely service. We pay about $300 every time they come, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes up to $500. And they come to our house and they do all the stuff. There's a vet down the street that I could take them to that $45 for the same exact service, but I want the way that I want it. So I have a sense for you, your price point probably needs to be like at least $1,500 to $1,000 for your just basic matchmaking. It probably needs to be $5,000 to $10,000 for your midline, and probably like $25,000 for your high ticket. And that one you're not really even selling, it's really just have it be a container. It will help align to your ideal client, because a person who's paying the price point of what you're currently selling is not seeking that service. They want to go online and click a couple buttons on a quiz and be popped out, go buy this. You want to sell to the person who's like, Jill, I don't have time. I just want to tell you 6 things about me, and I want you to go do the research, and I want you to hand me the thing that's going to actually give me great results.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, because when I first came to Midori, I said I'm a wellness concierge, and I've been going back and forth between wellness concierge and wellness matchmaker, because some people are having trouble conceptualizing concierge, even though concierge sounds more upmarket than matchmaker. So I'm kind of struggling with that, but I know Linnea got a question, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
You're fantastic, Jill. You're doing a great job. I would say absorb all the things. And here's the other thing, I'll bring it to everybody in the room. The thing about sales is this: if you feel unsure or stumbly on any piece, you're not going to be able to sell it. So what is the right title? It's the one that you're like, damn, I want that. Because here's the thing, you're your first buyer. Like when I had the other day, I was talking about one of my programs. I'm like, damn, I want that. I built it. I built it for everybody else, but I wanted it. You have to buy it yourself so that you can actually sell it. I remember years back, I had a coach who was recommending that my VIP day be 25 grand. At the time it was 10,000, and I couldn't do it. It was like the weirdest thing. I'd get on a call and I would say, my VIP day, it's 12,000, 12,500. I'm like, what am I doing? But then I realized it's 12,500. And so I claimed it, landed on it, sold it. And then I almost immediately made it 25,000, like right after that. It's like, had to get to the one that I believed in. So choose the name that you believe in, choose the price point that feels stretchy, but like this is who I am and who I want to be. And there's a cool little math equation that I'll use that you guys can all have, and then I'll ask Lene to step forward and I'll give her support. I take the amount of money I want to make a year and the number of clients I want to serve, and I divide them just to have an understanding of what my average price point should be. It doesn't mean I always price everything at that, but so frequently we set price point for our program and then can't figure out why we can't sell enough of it to make enough. And it's that you've literally developed something. Like one of my clients came to me, she's a copywriter, and she was selling an average like $2,000, $2,400, and she could just never like get off the ground. We did the math with how many clients she can actually take on each year, how much money she wanted to make. Her average price point needs to be $7,500. As soon as we clicked on that, we rebuilt her offers and she sells to that. And now her cash flow is cash flowing. So just connect into how many clients you want to work with to match to your price.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, Lene, step forward, be supported, be seen.
Thank you. You nailed my main problem, which is that I really do buy everybody's money story. So I'm comfortable quoting the high ticket prices that I know the value of them and I know they work. And I anticipatorily can't help but go, oh, they're not going to be able to afford this. And then it becomes real.
I'm going to give you two things to do to shift this. So one, usually the thing that we're worried about is the thing that we do. So one thing I am very, very clear on, when I go into every buying situation, I have an open door policy just to see what it is and if I want it. And there's a phrase that I use that I would recommend each of you use. I never, ever say the word, it's too expensive. I never say I don't have the money. I never, ever say that. Here's the words that I say. This is not my priority. Mm-hmm. And here's what happens. When you are given an invitation to buy something, if it's your priority, I promise you, you will go find a way. If it's not your priority, you won't buy it. And the best part about saying this is not my priority, this is what will happen. It will hit you in the gut when you say it's not my priority to something that is like your priority. And you're like, oh shit, I need to change this. I need to make this work. So I start using that phrase. And here's the second thing. You don't know anyone's money story. You don't. You can't. Even if you're a financial advisor, you can't. And here's what I mean by that. Years back, this amazing woman showed up on my doorstep. I can't remember exactly what I was selling at the time. I can't remember what the price point, kind of a little irrelevant. Anyway, she earned $30,000 in the year. And it would be very easy for me to say to her, I think my mastermind at the time was like 18,000. Why would she exchange that proportion of how much money she was making for my program? If I bought into her money story, I wouldn't have sold to her. But here's the truth. What you heard was just what I told you. The truth behind it is both she and her husband had worked, retired. He had another business and she had a pension. They lived in a house that was completely paid off in Kansas. They never had kids. They had a huge amount of savings. And the reason why she had only ever made $30,000 was because she would sell her programs for like $100 because she didn't need the money. And why she came to me was she realized that was actually not serving her anymore and it wasn't feeling good to do the work. And what she needed was to be so bought in that she would change. Price point is part of the transformation. The other thing is this. I actually don't want you to be able to afford to work with me. If you already had the money to step into my program, we're probably not a match because I want it to stretch you, not strain you. Because what happens when I say transformation is part of the transaction is that when you have to pay a different amount than you've ever paid, you have to think different thoughts, you have to do different work, you get different experiences. So I want my ideal buyer is a little uncomfortable with my price point. I'm very comfortable with it. One more story I'll tell, and then anyone else who wants a little support you can set forward is this. I remember there was this woman a couple of years back who came to me, and it was a really tiny price point. I think I was selling something that was like $9.97 or like 3 payments of $4.97. We got on the call and I just loved her and I could see what was blocking her. I could see what she could solve. Easy. And then she says to me, Laura, I'm basically supporting my entire family waiting tables and I can't even really do my business. And my husband is about to be out of work and we have to send $400 a month back to his family in Colombia. And I heard all of that and I almost didn't make her the offer. But I remembered she was there. I knew what her problem was. I knew we could solve it. This like little tiny program was going to change her life. And I went, I'm going to give her the offer. So I give her the offer. And I was about to even change the price point. I was about to be like, you could do it for 1 payment of $4.97. Like I almost did that, but I stopped myself. And I'm like, it's $9.97 pay in full or, 3 payments of $4.97. I could probably even extend the payment plan if you need it. She kind of hemmed and hawed and talked for a minute. And she's like, I don't know. I remember you had said something. Don't you have like this private package that's like $10,000 or $12,000? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I want to know about that. Do you think she paid in full? Yeah. You don't know people's money story, even if they tell it to you.
That's great.
I also want you to hear this other thing. I believe in, I don't sell because I can take your money. Remember when we talked about the 5 steps to yes? If your struggle is a struggle I know how to fix, and I think about this gal all the time because I knew what her problem was. She was great at putting things out on social media. She could get like viral posts and like 500 comments of like, choose me, I want your stuff. And she just didn't know how to sell anything to any of them. She had all the leads. She just couldn't sell. So I knew I could help her. And I was excited about her service. I thought what she was doing in the world was great. When I was in that zone, I want to make her the offer. I want to help her step up. I also always think about somebody, and this is maybe a little dark moment, but it's a good story at the end. There was a woman who came to one of my events who was in a very, very desperate place. And I am grateful I now don't know how desperate she was because there's a line between desperate and determined. I saw her as being determined. I now learn like how dark it was for her. And I remember her basically telling me she was scraping up her last $2,500 to make the first payment. And I felt a little bit of weight, but I also knew I could help her. Like I knew her problem. I knew her, I can't guarantee results. I can't possess you and do the work for you, but I knew her problems I solved. She's got the work ethic. Like I knew it was going to work. And so she scrapped the money together, made her first payment. She had done $22,000 the year before she met me. We did $27,000 in 4 weeks. And we changed her life. Had I listened to her money story, I might not have sold to her. She now is a very happy, delightful person who has about a $350,000 a year business. She's thriving. Things are great. So quit listening to the money stories.
Thank you.
Quit deciding what it means.
You have to go. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Ladies, okay, we'll do one quick one. Connie, step forward and be supported.
Thank you. So I'm doing a program. I've had level 1 and level 2 for almost 5 years now, and I'm selling them together like the QEI method. In fact, that was Midori's idea to call it that. And I was going to sell it, or I had the original idea to sell it for $7,000. I sold it for $2,500 and $3,500, which is $6,000. I was going to sell it for $7,000 so I could offer a fast acting bonus of $1,500 off on the call if they bought it on the call. It does not feel in integrity to me. I have done it a few times and it doesn't feel right because if it costs $5,500, it costs $5,500. So I'm wondering if I need to make it $7,000 and keep it that, or if I just need to make it $5,500 and keep it that. What would be your suggestion?
2 things. I love that you asked this question. So this is, remember when I said if you don't buy it, you can't sell it. If you feel out of alignment, you won't sell it. So there's 2 things. One, whenever we set a price and then we discount, it screws everything up because we aren't getting what we need. So usually what I do is I elevate price and then I set what I call a continuing client rate, not a discount. I'm going to give you an example. A couple years back, I had a program that was $5,000 a month, but I would let continuing clients have it for $37.50 a month. And the reason why I did that was because it was the amount that I would spend on acquiring a client. So I gave them that special, but here's how I set the program up. $37.50 a month felt fantastic to me. Fantastic. I elevated up to 5K. I didn't do 5K and then dropped it down. So there's that. So whatever price you really need it to be selling for, claim that and elevate that, as opposed to claim it and discount it, because you don't feel good on that. The second thing is this: you need to know your ideal buyer. So my ideal buyers are straight shooters. Now, not everybody, this doesn't match for everybody. If I say it's 30K, it's 30K, it's 30K, they're like, thank you. And it's $2,500. There's no change in price point. This is what it is. If you pay in full, I usually give a bonus. I love paying full bonuses versus a drop in a rate. That's my ideal clients. Now, if your ideal clients need to get a deal because that's how they feel special, seen, then let's create an offer that is $8,500, but you can get it for only $7,000. And they feel like they're getting the deal. You need to align what feels good for you and what matches your ideal buyer. That's the thing about sales. Sales is like how you sell and how people buy.
So how do I go from the 85? So, okay, so let's say I want 7K and I go to 85. So I make that, how do I make that go from 85 to 7,000 when it's not that I just did the same thing and it didn't feel right?
Right. I guess that's what I'm saying is, if that discounting method doesn't feel good, don't do it. Like,
okay.
I don't do it. That was the answer. It's like I wanted to give for everyone in the room as well as for you.
Okay.
And by giving you that, what you'll find out is if it does or doesn't. The other thing I want you to hear is I do have a continuing client rate for all of my programs, and I have a new to me client rate. And the reason why I do this is, one, I like to reward people for continuing with me. So I do have an ascension model. The second thing is, it legitimately is, I want to be careful how I say this, less work to continue with somebody than it is to bring on a new client, because a new client, I'm having to learn all their stuff. And a continuing client, we've already done some work together. So I pass along that to them. And I know my clients like that, but I don't discount. It's a subtle shift. That's what I want you to play with.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Ed, step forward. Gentleman on the team.
And if you have to go, no worries.
No worries. I have 13 minutes, and I know I need to have 2 minutes with Midori as well. So let's see what we can do in 5.
No worries. So I do video. My big one is video coaching. So I have a main package where it's online learning portal with course and resources, and then one-on-one coaching with me. And it basically set it up as a 30-day program, but now I've extended it to 90 days so that, you know, the 30 days is intensive with weekly check-ins on top of everything. So basically 4 calls, you do some short learning exercises in between calls. I check in every week to make sure you're doing the work, and we go forward. And so anyway, I have that for currently $2,500, although I have been told my pricing is way too low, and continue to play around with the idea of having it maybe $3,500, whatever. And anyway, so I'm just trying to figure out, like, ideally I want to have 3 clients in that every month. I want to be making about 10 grand, pulling in from that a month, and like call it good. I just haven't hit my sweet spot. I've had some interest from people the last couple months, but haven't really like got into that groove yet.
Yep. Okay, I'll tell you what to do. I consult and I coach. Some days I'm consulting. Okay, so thing number 1, I want you all to hear what Ed did. When he said his number, he was like, ugh. So here's what I do. I walk around saying my numbers so that I feel rock solid in them. So 2,500 doesn't feel good to you. It feels uncomfortable. It's either too big or too small, but it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you said 3,500, did you hear your resonance change? You like literally said it in a different manner. And you said very strongly, this is what I want. So I want for you to hear your energy and how you say your money. It'll help you know your number. So a lot of times I'll talk with somebody and be like, is it 5,000, 7,000, 10,000? Ooh, is it 12? Like, you will feel how you say it. And here's my practice for elevating price. What I want you to do is like 3 or 4 times your price and feel that like, oh crap, I can't do that. And then I want you to drop back down. If you try to upgrade incrementally, you'll snap back too easily. So there's that. The second thing about this is, okay, I am a proponent of high ticket everything for a few reasons. It matches your ideal buyer. A person who has bought before can continue making buying choices. So know who your audience is. Are you working with people who are advanced? Are they brand new? Like, know that. But what I also love about high ticket is it gives you a longer income runway. And most of the time, if you're struggling to bring on enough clients, selling too low exacerbates the number one problem in your business right now. You need more clients because you're selling too low, and then you constantly need more clients, but you don't have more coming in. Yep. So when we sell higher ticket, we need fewer clients and gives us longer runway. So the fact that this is a 90-day program, what I would recommend is there's a 4-week activation where we meet once a week and then you get 90 days of access. I would sell a little higher on the, hey, there's one-on-one in this program and there's the course.
Yeah.
And I would potentially make it so that it is like 4,500 or 3 payments of 1,500. And then that way you have 3 reoccurring payments. And then once you get to month 2, when you've brought 3 people in, you now already have that money that you wanted and you can stack and layer it.
I love that. And the 1,500 it's fits because that's kind of like the minimum I want per month from any client that I'm working with on my other stuff, which is good. Cool.
Ask for more. I just want to say this carefully. There's somebody out there who has an 1/8 of your talent who is selling their service for 10 times as much as you're selling it for.
And not getting that connection. Like, I actually want to be there with the client, helping support them and answering everything for them. So it's like, I know.
And here's how you're going to start selling that is what you're going to say is this. What I do is easy to do and easy not to do. Anyone can turn on a camera. You can do it for free anywhere. But why do you need me? Why you need me is because you're going to talk yourself out of doing it. You're going to go get on and you're going to say all the wrong things that completely turn off your ideal clients. And you didn't even realize you did it because you were uncomfortable with the medium. Explain to people why they need you. I want your service to feel as critical as toilet paper.
Yes, and I am not there yet, but this is good.
You are there yet. Do you know why your service is as critical as toilet paper? I curse. I feel like I have a little bit.
You're fine.
Because of the fucking red pill bullshit, Andrew Tate disgustingness. Do you know how much money these people are making with videos on YouTube? It is disgusting. And they are putting out absolute dog shit into this world. So it is required of you, Ed, that you go find all the magical women like the ones in this room and the conscious men out there, and you help them have a platform, use their voice, make their videos, make money, and squash all the crap that shouldn't be out there. That's why you have to go sell at the highest price point.
Love it. Thank you.
Sorry, got on my soapbox there.
No, I love it.
This was awesome. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for staying on for an extra 25 minutes. I know all these women have gotten so much value from hearing you. And also, I think the way that you say it, right? You know, working with women, we have all these mental blocks and these bullshit stories that we tell in our head that hold us back from all the amazing things that I'm looking at all these. I know every single woman who's here, the amazing things that they can bring and provide. But we need to hear it from people like you who have that authority and help us just kind of transform the way that we think about it. So thank you so much for taking this extra time and working with everyone to help us get out there and do it. Right, ladies? And Ed? Yeah.
Ladies and Ed.
Ladies and Ed, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Oh, and I will make sure that my team gets like we'll coordinate behind the scenes and how I can give you the overcoming objection stuff and the other training. Midori will figure out what the best way is. We'll either give you guys a link to go access it or however, but I'll make sure you guys get all of that.
And before you jump, where can we have people go if they want to get on right now? They want to meet with you right now.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. You should go to my website and book a call if you feel like, which is laurawrightofficial.com. I also have my book on there, which is pretty freaking amazing. It's 51 little steps to create an income boost. Where do I hang out on social? I don't. But you should go to LinkedIn, because if you go to LinkedIn, there is a beloved team member of mine who flags things and says, Laura, respond to this lovely woman. So go find me on LinkedIn. I'm Laura Wright. And I'm actually a real life human being. If you do email me, I will respond to you. So Laura at epic@sales.com, which is different than my URL, but don't worry about that. But if you email me, I will absolutely respond to you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Obviously, you enjoyed this because most of you hung out. So great having you here. I will see all of you other than, well, Laura, I'll probably see you again too very, very soon. So thank you. And everyone have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Good to see everyone.